Gallup is out with a new poll highlighting our failed healthcare system. 50% in U.S. fear bankruptcy due to major health event. 50%. Guys. 50%. Here's some more numbers from it. So they say half in the U.S. Now, it used to be 45% in 2019. It increased by 5 percentage points. They're concerned about health-related bankruptcy. 15%, including 20% of non-white adults, have long-term medical debt defined as debt that it would take over a year to pay off. 15% already have long-term medical debt. And just so you know, medical bills is one of the top causes of bankruptcy in this country. Lowering drug prices is a key voting issue for 35% of adults, and 26% report that they would need to borrow money to pay a $500 medical bill. A quarter of the country would need to borrow money to pay a $500 medical bill. We've gone over previous numbers. You guys already know. Before COVID, I believe the exact number was 78% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck. So, listen, the top line number here, 50% in the U.S. fear bankruptcy due to a major health event. 50%. In other developed countries, that is 0%. 50%. So over 150 million Americans fear medical bankruptcy. Over 150 million. In Canada, nobody does. In Norway, nobody does. In Iceland, in Sweden, in the UK, in France, in Australia, nobody does. In Japan, nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody fears medical bankruptcy. Medical bankruptcy is not a thing that exists in those countries. When you get sick, you get help, and it's free, paid for by your taxes. Here, when we pay taxes, our money goes towards bailing out corporations in Wall Street and endless wars. That's what our money goes towards. In other developed countries, you pay money in taxes and you get health care. And if you get sick, you go to the hospital. Doesn't matter how much it costs, you walk out and you don't pay a penny. You could have, in theory, you could have a surgery that costs $150,000 and you walk out of there without paying a single penny. One of the themes of this show, if you've been watching it for a long time, you already know this. I'm really trying to shine a light on how I don't think Americans even realize how much the system is screwing them. Like how abysmal and how pathetic the screwing is. And if people, listen, you got to blame the media too, and you got to blame the education system. Because the job of the education system and the job of the media should be to inform you, to educate you, to give you the relevant facts and information. If you were given the relevant facts and information, you would know we're the only developed country that doesn't have, for example, paid vacation time by law. We don't have any paid vacation time by law in this country. Other countries, you know, it varies depending on where you go, but you can get 30 days paid vacation time by law every year. It's almost like you get a summer vacation as an adult every year. Wouldn't you like that? You would, wouldn't you? Another one, paid maternity leave. We're one of the only countries on the planet that doesn't have paid maternity leave. And the list goes on and on. I mean, the clearest example is universal health care. We don't have universal health care. We don't have single payer. It's not all funded by tax money. And as a result of that, you're getting screwed in a way that is a slap in the face and is so over the top and brazen that when people in other countries hear about how bad you have it, they feel bad for you. They do. They can't believe how much the system is screwing you. We've played that video before on air here. I think it was in the UK where they were telling people, how much do you think it costs in America for, and then fill in the blank with whatever health-related thing, taking an ambulance after you break your arm, having a baby, so on and so forth. The reaction of all of them was like, stop it. Stop, it costs that much? How can people even afford that? You have to be rich to even have a kid in this country. Are you insane? This is another fact like that, guys. The whole concept of medical bankruptcies does not exist throughout the developed world. It exists here in the United States of America. And 50% of the population lives in fear that they'll go bankrupt due to a medical event. 50%. By the way, we all end up needing medical care at one point or another in our lives. It's inevitable. It's a fact of life because we all have an expiration date. We slowly break down in a variety of ways. So we all got to go. It's a guarantee that you're going to have to go to the hospital. So we're all on borrowed time to going in massive amounts of debt because of health. Even if you take care of yourself in the most amazing ways, at some point, your body's going to break down. You're going to have to go to the hospital for something. 50% fear bankruptcy due to a major health event. Listen, look at that fact and also think about what we've been doing recently. $5 trillion in the CARES Act, which largely went towards giant corporations. $1 trillion in quantitative easing per day from the Fed. Effectively socializing the marketplace. That's what we spend our tax money on. A multi-trillion dollar, F-35-2 program. So we wanted a newer, better warplane that we desperately don't need. Spent over $1 trillion on it. And by the way, for a while, it couldn't even fly. It couldn't even get off the ground. It was a colossal mess up. That's where our tax money's going, man. That is where our tax money's going. We could pool our resources with taxes and redirect all that money to healthcare, to education, to paid time off by law. If that was the case, I genuinely believe Americans would feel fine paying their taxes. If anything, you feel like it's a patriotic duty. If you know, hey, this money's going for healthcare and education and paid vacation time and make sure that hungry kids get food. By the way, 30 million Americans are food insecure at the moment because of the economy and COVID. 30 million. 30 million. 32% couldn't pay their rent a couple months ago. Those real problems are ignored. And business as usual continues. They're going to keep giving subsidies, welfare checks to ExxonMobil, to other corporations, to Wall Street. The corrupt politicians will continue serving big pharma and the for-profit health insurance companies and the military-industrial complex, and you get screwed. And we get numbers like this. Listen, any politician who's not for Medicare for all, you need to be relentless. You need to be vicious. You need to take no crap and relentlessly push our agenda, the left agenda, because it's the people's agenda. Over 60% of the country now wants Medicare for all. Why? Because we're in a pandemic and tens of millions of people don't have health insurance, and you have 50% of the country is afraid of medical bankruptcy. So don't take any half-assed nonsense. Force them to do our bidding. Force them. Because this is beyond unacceptable, and shame on the media for not talking about it. You had to come to a YouTube show to listen to a loudmouth like me talk about this. Why? Credit to Gallup for doing this poll. Credit to anybody who talks about it and pumps it out there. But it's a shame. This should be like big breaking news on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox News. They will completely ignore it. Completely. And they'll pawn off when somebody does have a medical bankruptcy. What do? They pawn it off. They poverty shame. I guess you should have worked harder. I guess you should have been a better person. I guess you should have climbed that corporate ladder a little more effectively. They try to make poverty an individual failing. It's not an individual failing with numbers like this. It is clearly systemic. And systemic problems need to be fixed at the societal level. It can't be fixed at an individual level. This is unacceptable. I don't know how else to say, man. This is unacceptable. This number is out of this world. It's pathetic. We have to fight to change this. We have to do it now. We have to apply as much pressure as humanly possible to get all these politicians in favor of Medicare for all and to pass it. Because if we don't, the death, the destruction, the pain that's out there is already immense, and it's going to get way worse.